we're getting ready to turn our welt. Sometimes if you're by yourself, this can be a difficult chore. So what I do is I just get it started. Just keep pulling it and then take what's left here and tie it around a table leg or something that's not going to move, something steady. You don't have to tie a heavy knot, just something that's going to hold it. You can pull and see. Just whatever works for you to make it hold. I just put it in there any old way. And then you're going to step back and you're just going to start pulling. And this is what turning welt is. Now we only have 150 inches of this to turn. So we're probably going to have to change this knot a few times. Otherwise I'm going to be outside in the street. If you have two people, one person can hold one end and then you don't have to do this. Okay, we've reached where we started, and this is where it gets a little different. You're going to have to pull very carefully to go over that knot. This is where we sewed it together. This is where we tacked it across the top. This is really the only difficult part. You just have to get it over that seam. And then, once you do that, you just keep doing the same thing. As you see, you're going to go over the part that you started on. Once you get it going, piece of cake. Except now we're pulling in the other direction. This is why we left it loose. If I had sewed this tight, I'd be able to turn it, but it would be a real difficult job. As it starts coming out the other side, you can see where we sewed it together. If we wouldn't have sewed it together, it would never turn. Try not to let it bunch up too much. Just keep a nice steady pull. This is why you don't cut your welt, because you don't want any wasted. So you measured out how much you were going to have. Now I have my 150 inches of turned welt. Now I'm going to go back to the table, cut them into 3 pieces for my braided tieback. Now we can finally cut this welt cord. See, we had no waste because we measured off what we were going to, our finished length when we started. So we're going to cut this one. And since it's going to be a tieback and I cut it in 3 pieces, I'm just going to find my seam lines and I'm just going to go ahead and cut them right on my seam line. So I have 3 even pieces that I'm ready to braid. Before I braid them, I'm going to put a cap on them. So I'm going to change over to my regular foot. If your machine can't sew something real heavy, you might have to do this by hand. You can just sew a little cap and sew it on by hand. So what I do is come down about 1 inch. So I'm just going to sew across all 3 pieces. Then I'm going to bring this over this, then I'm going to take this, and bring it over this way, then I'm going to fold it back on itself like this. See, there's my inch. Then I'm going to pull this up this way. To cut off this excess. Like I said, I just cut a piece of scrap and then I don't need that piece. So then I come along and I sew down the sides here. Push that in tight. Cut that off. And do the same thing on the other side. Cut that off. Then you see what you have here is a little pocket. And you're just going to turn that over.